So, good evening, everybody. Today we are joined by Mrs. Saswati Singh. She is a highly respected special educator and rehabilitation expert with over 35 years of experience supporting individuals with autism and intellectual disabilities. Her journey began as a mother when her own son was denied admission by multiple schools, leading her to dedicate her life to create meaningful, inclusive solutions for children and families facing similar challenges. She's the founder of Inspiration and Prerna Foundation, where she pioneered one of India's first group home models for individuals with autism. Over the years, her work has directly impacted hundreds of individuals and supported thousands of families through rehabilitation, training, community based programs. Alongside her work, which we are today, we have invited her for that. Alongside her work in education and rehabilitation, Mrs. Singh has developed deep expertise in dietary interventions for autism, particularly focusing on gut health and its impact on behavior, attention, and overall well being. She has contributed to international work on autism diets, including writing on the GFCF, gluten free, casein free approach, and is known for offering practical, individualized guidance that parents can realistically implement. Her approach combines scientific understanding, decades of hands on experience, and the empathy of a parent, making her guidance both credible and deeply relatable for families. So, welcome, Mrs. Saswati. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure if I can be of any help to any parent, because in our generation, we didn't have much guidance. So as a result, our children have suffered. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, my first question, what led you as a microbiologist to explore the connection between gut health, diet, and autism?
Okay. So first of all, I would just like to mention in short that I had very severe ulcerative colitis before I had got married. And I was on very heavy medication for about 4 years, which led to the asphyxiation that my son had at the time of birth, because I couldn't reach in time in the hospital, and it was middle of the night, and the doctors couldn't come in time, so my son was asphyxiated. And because of the medications that I was taking, there was internal bleeding, so my son didn't receive oxygen for quite some time. So for 15 days, he was in ICU. He and I were not supposed to survive. But my Chacha ji, being Calcutta's topmost gynecologists, and my son's pediatric surgeon was my cousin's classmate. So because of the individual attention that we got, we managed to, survive. And now I look back and see that there has to be a certain reason why this happened. So I knew from my own experience with my own gut issues that there were certain foods which was contributing to this. When my son was about 15 years of age, I went to do the Sunrise program in Massachusetts at Option Institute. And the Sunrise Startup program, the very first day, first session, they mentioned this whole sentence that wheat and milk just throw out of the window, you don't have to do any tests. When I heard that, I said, well, it resonates somewhere, because I felt whenever I used to have, coming from Bengal, from a Bengali family, we were very heavily into milk products and, sweets and others, as everybody knows. And I had that feeling that somewhere, if I can withdraw all of that and see what effect it has on me, then I would like to do it on my son. So one thing, even today, whatever I introduce, whatever I withdraw, whatever supplementations my son is taking, I also take, so that I can sort of gauge as to what is happening with him. So then I went into the extensive research, and after coming back from the States, when I came back to Delhi, my son was already 15, 16, and I decided to open the group home in Dehradun, away from the pollution and others of Delhi. So it is just not one thing. Diet is a very, very important part. It forms the base of the pyramid. But there are other layers also which impact autism. So unless we do the diet, we will not see any sustained improvement, because I have been doing therapies for for about 15-16 years when I did the diet. But once I started doing the diet, I saw very strategic changes. So whatever I did with my son, I did with the others, and I started getting the same results. And I had to the parents that I'm giving very healthy food. I'm not depriving the children, because coming from a doctor family and the microbiology background I had, and I'm from Presidency College, Calcutta, so people know what it means when I was talking about the diet. So when we were doing all of this with every single child, especially the younger we catch them, the better the results. So it depends on how much of inflammation there is in the gut, in the brain, because the gut-brain connection is there. So depending on all of that, which child will show how much of improvement, that may differ. But everybody got the results, because there is a certain way of doing it. So there are parents who tell me that they have been doing the diet. So first thing I ask, under whose guidance? Because if you suddenly stop or you suddenly introduce and you're only doing GFCF, it's not going to help. So we do the complete allergy panel test, because there are everyday foods to which the children could be allergic. And unless those are also removed, by only doing GFCF, you will not get results. And that is exactly what the parents do. They go cold turkey, they stop all of a sudden, the children have major behavioral issues, and then the parents get back. So I take it very, very slow. Milk is removed 1 spoon at a time. And then if the child is too cranky, then we stop over there. Then after a few days, again, we withdraw. So we do it at a very, very slow pace. So the body gets used to, when you introduce something very slowly or you remove something very slowly, the body accepts and is able to, respond. So that
That's
is
great.
very, very, very important. Yeah.
That's a very important point that you're making. So, you've mentioned, how does gut health affect behavior, focus, overall regulation in autistic individuals? It's very difficult for some of the parents to believe that it is gut health which is causing all these issues,
Yeah. So
or the
these
diet.
are, yeah,
Mm.
these are some of the things that we were trained in, that if the child has these sudden cranky behavior and posturing, where they are difficulty in the body, then
Mm.
first thing you need to look at is food. We're doing this review of whatever the child is eating, and then we try and not give. It is called you just don't have to do testings for everything. So you gradually say, for 1 week, don't give that particular food and see what happens. So when there is change in behavior, the child is much more calmer, then we can look at at a long term removal of that for about 1-2 years. The first thing the parents ask, will they have to do this throughout life? Throughout
Yeah.
life is a very big haul. So the main thing is, take one day at a time, 1 month at a time. So all these very famous nutritionists and others I have met, I have worked with the topmost doctors of India who are into the diet. So there is Dr. Lakshmi Prasanna, who's presently in Australia. She was from Hyderabad. There's Dr. Ananta Rao from Apollo Hospital. At that time, he was there in Bangalore at Apollo Hospital. Now he's been at several hospitals. So I have worked with all these people. I've taken consultations with them, and they have explained how to do all of this. So it was very necessary for me to train myself before I could do it with other people's children. You see, so when I got results with myself, I have cured my ulcer. I mean, I'm totally out of it. And I know that sometimes when you have a little bit of irritability and others, the first thing you do is a stint of probiotic. So very, very simple like changes, not medication. I prefer not to, burden the body with chemicals, but do it in a natural way by tweaking the diet, by tweaking the timings. It is not only what you eat, but when you eat. The same
Okay.
food eaten at different times of the day could also, prove. Like after 2 o'clock, we recommend that for our children with autism, that they should not take anything raw. So children who are having fruits in the evening, when that was removed, then we got very good results. So I have, for 18 years that I was running India's first group home for autism. Now there are tons of them. In Dehradun itself, there's so many people who have opened these residential setups after they have worked with me. There have been parents and others who have been supporting. So those who are doing the diet, they know exactly, that all of this does work. Like you have to be like a experimental, mindset. We
Yes.
document everything. We maintain manuals. I always keep a, like that I've started this. After that, what are the, results that I've got? And by tweaking, by changing the timings, how we can, get it. So it is called the elimination diet, that when you suspect as a mother that whenever I give, say, I'm talking about my own son, whenever I used to give him yellow colored foods, whether it was papaya, whether it was pumpkin, whether it was mango, his body would go for a total toss. So then when I researched people like, Dr. Mercola and others who are very famous internationally and working with the diet, that these were phenolic foods. So there are different classes of foods, oxalates and salicylates and, phenolic foods. So when you go into the research of it, because I have done such extensive work, because I had to give relief to my son, So
Yeah.
that was my learning experience. So that I'm sharing with other parents, that you can do
That is
this and for your own child. Yeah. So,
and this is like experiential. You've I heard you say that you've done it on yourself as well, so that is something
yeah.
very commendable. The one more thing that I would just end on this. Some of the doctors or the pediatricians or the so-called developmental pediatricians, sometimes when I do refer parents to them for a diet, they are very skeptical about it and they just brush it under the carpet. It's like, and the kind of medication that most of the parents coming to our center are having, like Respiridon and all the likes of it. What do you have to say on that? And why are the doctors not taking this into account so seriously?
Yeah, I would really like to share over here. I'm not blaming anybody, nor am I labeling or, defaming anybody. But my son in Gangaram Hospital, which was one of the topmost hospitals of Delhi, when he was about 5, 6 years of age, and whenever I said that he's getting very bad, they would introduce another medicine.
Oh
And
my God.
Risdon, Pacitane, Alprax, all of these, Sizodon, all of these things he was taking when he was 6, 7 years old. And the more he was being dosed, he was getting even worse. Then I said,
Mm.
no, something is not okay. That is when I came to Nimhans, because I had very good references. So when I came to Nimhans, it was so, I'm so thankful for that one by one, they removed every single medicine. I stayed at Nimhans and we withdrew in case there
Mm.
was withdrawal symptoms and, like the child would get ill. So I stayed over there for 15 days, 20 days, and withdrew all of these medicines. And at the age of 37, it is only one medicine, and that also for epilepsy. And the last epileptic attack he had was when he was 6 years old. But he is
That's
still
commendable.
on
Mm.
carbamazepine, only 100 mg, which is an infant dose. But that infant dose I couldn't withdraw.
Mm.
So when I tried to withdraw that medicine, he has regressed 10 years. So I, like 3, 4 doctors had said that he has to take this lifelong. And these 3, 4 doctors were the topmost neurologists and others in throughout India. I'm not talking about only Delhi. So I've
My
been
God.
to Hyderabad, I've been to like Nimhans was where I ultimately I zeroed down on. So they said, you don't have to come anymore. You have to just continue this. And if there's any emergency, then you can, like get back. But that is why I have now permanently shifted to Mysore, which is the closest to Bangalore, because Bangalore itself is no place where my son wouldn't be comfortable. The reason why I left Delhi and went to Dehradun, the same reason I chose Mysore over Bangalore, you know. So the pollution, the noise, and it's so uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
all of that, the children, it is not only food is, as I say, is the underlying basis, but there are other things, pollution and others, which can also affect our children and their behavior. I would like to share. I've got this book. I don't know whether you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
called The
The
Autism
autism.
and ADHD Diet, written by Barry Silverberg. So the India chapter is page 165, and many of the parents from the South have come to me. This is,
Ah, okay. Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So
That's lovely. I'm going to read that. Yes.
there are only 9 countries who she chose, and she herself is a mother who
Okay.
has retrieved her child from autism. So we never say use the word cure, because obviously it is not a disease. And
Yes.
the child has her son has really improved after this. So I have seen that with our children. Many of the children who had come to below the age of 6 are
Mm-hmm.
all out of it. They have snapped out of it. They are in regular schools. They still have autism. They have a problem with communication and social behavior, but they are mainstreamed.
Wow. So
And
the effects are so profound after the diet. My.
yes, yes. Some of the doctor's children have they have no signs, but like the mother says, "Thoda sa bhola hai." Like maybe a very very smart boy. He's very good at everything, but maybe he could be a little bit gullible and could fall into wrong company. So like both the parents being doctors, they are aware that okay, he has this thing. So like they guide the child accordingly.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. So I think most of the parents who come to us, what about, like I heard you say 0 to 7, it really, really is easy and you see the effects very soon. What about kids who are above the age of 7? Some of them are between 7 to 14.
Yeah.
What advice
So
do you give?
I would like to share with you all. There is this whole Anthroposophical Society of Europe, and the Camp Hill project of Bangalore. There are only just 1 or 2 in India. A lot of Waldorf schools are there, which follow the same theory. So this Rudolf Steiner, he has spoken about this 7 years window. Age of 7, then 14, then 21. So we say at the age of 7, one window closes. So I try and get the child below the age of 6. So most of
Okay.
the children below the age of 6, when they have come, they have really shown, most of them have shown very, very, fast improvement, especially when the parents have done exactly the way we said.
Okay. So
So
do you advise some kind of tests that the parents can do before they reach you? And how can they reach you as well?
yeah. So the first thing I would like to say that many of the tests which are done in India, uh, the allergy panel test will give you those of everyday food. In
Okay.
that, casein and the gluten may not come. So then the parents say, see, they are not, allergic. So IgE is just one panel. We have more than 100 immunoglobulins in our body. So it is not possible to do a test for everything. Being a microbiology, I know all of this. So that is why we also, use the elimination diet. That as a
Okay.
mother, if you are sharp enough and if you keep a manual and if you keep a record that in this week we have started so and so, so and so, so and so, and we have seen this changes, and then you withdraw and you suddenly give again, then you'll see the behaviors coming back. So it is very essential that you all take this very seriously, and I am very strong on this. If anybody is doing the diet, it has to be on a one-to-one. It
Hmm.
is not a one size fits all.
Yes, that's
So
great.
I do consultations throughout the world because there are Indian families who want to know how to do the diet in the Indian context. Now we
Mm.
know that in India all the states have different food habits. All
Yes.
right, all the families have different food types. So first thing I ask is I want a complete, morning till the child, from the moment the child opens their eyes to the moment they go to sleep, whatever they eat, with the timings, with the names of specific fruits, vegetables, foods, everything. Yes, I talk about here, I would like to mention, because I have followed a number of protocols for my son. So I wouldn't like to name them. Parents will get overwhelmed. But the main thing is you have to have, a very clear idea as to, what timings also you're doing. Circadian rhythm is very, very important in the food. And Maneka Gandhi ji had sent me to Japan. So this is called the Japanese hydrotherapy, that you start the day with 2 glasses of, lukewarm water, which removes the toxins from the body. All of this, when I do these individual sessions with the parents, I keep in mind, which state they come from, what is the type of food that they will be using, whether if some child is allergic to yeast and they are having dosas and others, that is also wild yeast. It is fermentation. My son
Yeah.
cannot take fermented food. I tried over and over again. Ambali and others are very much recommended, for the gut. But his cramps becomes, it's through the roof. So,
Okay.
like I've been consulting Dr. Khader, he's known as the Millet Man of India. I have presented with him in Mysore, and he's very well known for his dietary interventions. So,
Okay.
like it is just not one person. I have, collected all the good practices. There are very, very well known Ayurvedic doctors in Dehradun from whom I learned such a lot. But I'm talking about the deworming. I'm talking about the CBC, which is the complete blood count. What is the status of the hemoglobin? What is the status of the blood platelets? Whether, the ESR is high, coming from a, medical background and, from a medical family. All of these things just came naturally to me. But when I used to talk about this, I could see that many of the parents didn't even have any clue. And the saddest part of it is that Dr. Rita Peshwaria, Kiran Bedi's sister, who was one of the founders of NIMH Secunderabad, which is now known as NEPID, she used to do awareness programs with pediatricians. And
Oh,
I have all my cousins and others who are doctors, and they say that nowhere in the syllabus have we done autism. There's just a small paragraph,
yes.
and don't even know anything about the diet. So they are just taught to prescribe. So
Oh,
I there with a number of international, doctors. I follow them on a regular basis and others. We've done extensive research on all of this. So very few
wow.
people, understand the impact, and the parents would be intrigued to know that, people like Kohli and the cricketers and, many of the international Olympic, persons and others, Phelps, they are all on the diet. They do the diet. So the Sunrise program, Ron Kaufman was very, very severely autistic in his childhood, and he was one of our professors. And we were just staring at him. We couldn't imagine all the things that we read about him in his mother's book. And this man is giving our lecture. I have presented internationally with Ron Kaufman, and there were families from Pakistan and Bangladesh, and Kriti Mitro Bhatia had organized this. So this is called the Special Mom Group, and I have had the privilege of Ron Kaufman, and he knew I was the only organization in India who was doing the diet as an organization. Anybody who came to me had to do the diet, otherwise it's better you stay away.
Exactly. And that is the
So
need of
you
the
can't
hour.
imagine.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think, the parents should take this up very, very seriously.
Very
It is
seriously.
just
Mhm.
not, like they feel that we are depriving the child. I want
Yeah.
to show you other book. It is called Poisons in Our Food. And
Mm.
this is written by Vandana Shiva, Dr. Vandana Shiva, who's a very famous, person of India, environmentalist and nutritionist. So this whole book talks about how the link between pesticides and diseases.
Mm. Okay.
So wheat, we know, has the glyphosate and, the Monsanto company. There is lots happening with Bill Gates and et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to get into all that long thing. But the thing that, the wheat and I like to mention, because you were talking about the doctors. In Delhi, when I was there in before 2005, there were only 4 of us doctors who were talking about the diet. Now, of course, there are some of the younger doctors who have been talking about withdrawal of the milk and others. So it was only Dr. Arun Mukherjee, myself, Dr. Deepak Gupta from Gangaram Hospital, and there was this AIMS doctor, I just forgot her name. So there were only 4 of us who were speaking about the diet. So I was the only one who was not a medical doctor. I was a microbiologist, but the others were medical doctors. And Dr. Deepak Gupta, I mean, he writes on the prescription, it is not only GFCF, it is GFCF, SFCF, sugar-free, soya-free, and corn-free. So soya and corn are genetically modified, and those are not meant for the Indian intestine. Why Indian intestine? I mean, for the human intestine. So those who are having a lot of all of this, I know of lots of families who, like after the party and they had these popcorns and then they became violent and, had to be sedated. So, I mean, it's across board. I know, because the parents openly talk to me because they know that, because I understand about it. So when they tell the doctors, they said, oh, it's just a myth.
Yes, that's what the parents tell us as well. Yeah.
So, yeah, I have specifically, met all of these doctors. Dr. Khadir is also a very well-known homeopath. So he and his daughter are running this Millet Magic, and they share a lot of, recipes and others. And he strongly talks, against the white revolution, which is the milk, and the green revolution, that is wheat. So, and he's got the Padma Shri in 2023, which was the year of the millets. Modi had announced that as the year of the millets. So he is known as the Millet Man of India. He came back from America, and he introduced, all of these ancient grains which heal the gut. So it's yeah, there's lots you can do. It's not that we are depriving the children. So in he had a very roaring bakery, which was completely 100% GFCF. So anybody with celiac disease and others, they would only take from us because they knew we understood this whole gamut of allergies. So when we are talking about the tests, as you say, so I simply talk about the vitamin B, vitamin D, the CBC, and urine and stool culture, so to rule out whether there are any infections. And of course, the allergy panel test, which we recommend to be repeated every 4 or 5, 3 to 4 years. And this is done after the age of 3.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And since you are sitting in Lucknow, Lucknow has this lab, which is the endocrine and allergy lab, where, from Dehradun and others, the sample used to go to Lucknow.
I'll take the name from you, Mrs. Saswati. And now, if I have to tell the parents, can they contact you directly? And should I tell them the timings as well?
Yeah, yeah. I am only free after, say, 9:30. Like today, I put my son to bed. But as I knew that I had this session today, so I took him out so that he would be tired. So by 9 o'clock, he's in bed. I can see him through the camera. I know he's in the bed only. So that's how I do my work. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving that time and your passion, your dedication. We need more people like you, Mrs. Saswati. And I think the families are definitely going to benefit a lot.
Yeah, helping the younger parents, especially to catch them young, because early intervention does not have any substitute. So below the age of 7, but even after 7, also, like my son was 15 when I started the diet, and in America they had said, we don't know how much result you will get. I said, I have to have results. So I work with The Secret always be positive. There is always hope. Instead of seeing the negative side, always see the positive side. Even if you can get, say, 10% results, or there may be, 50% results, I still think it is worth it, because
It's worth it. Yes.
you will be really giving relief to the child. My son
Yes.
used to be screaming. He got lost 19 times. He got lost in demands. And I didn't know that he was running away from stomach pain. He was
My
constantly
God.
running
See?
away. He used to be jumping from heights. He would go to the terrace and jump. So I was always on tenterhooks, like what will happen next? What will happen next? But once I came to know about the diet, and, one by one, when we withdrew all of these offending foods, then I got the changes. So the main thing I say, if the gun is loaded, don't pull the trigger. So remove all the trigger foods. So these are not healthy, options. Like some of the parents, they say, "Oh, my child can read M for McDonald's." I said, not a good thing. Like the fast food culture, and kurkure and chips and Maggie and cold drinks and whatever.
Ah,
These
my
should never be given, and that is why it is necessary that the parents should know about people like Dr. Khadir, who are sitting in India and doing all of this. So I get a lot of support from people like him, and there is Vishwarup Rai Chaudhary, though he talks about other things also. But the main thing is how the body, body clock, and what you eat can impact your behavior. So I have been talking about this very, very strongly.
That's great. I think the parents, I hit a jackpot when I found you, Mrs. Saswati. And I'm sure that the parents are going to take a lot of, good advice from you, and they're going to carry that out in their lives as well. And especially more so for the kids who are younger than 6 years, they have a very good opportunity, even the ones who are older. But yes, they have an opportunity to get the results sooner as well. So yeah,
Right now, I would like to share in Murshidabad, in
and just stop
Bengal.
the recording. Let me just stop the recording first, and then we can.